The HSCS Indomitable tumbled out of faster-than-light space like a drunk falling through a door. Captain Maria Okonkwo gripped her command chair as the ship shuddered and groaned. Red warning lights painted the bridge in blood-colored shadows. "Status report," she barked. "FTL drive is fried, Captain," her chief engineer responded through the comm system. "That experimental jump tore it apart. We're stuck on conventional engines until I can patch it together." Maria cursed under her breath. The Indomitable was supposed to be exploring the outer edges of human space, not jumping blind into unknown territory. But the politicians back on Earth wanted faster FTL technology, and they wanted it now. So they pushed. They always pushed. "Where are we?" she asked. Her navigation officer, a young woman named Chen, stared at her screens with wide eyes. "Captain, I don't recognize any of these star patterns. We're not just outside human space. We're way outside." The bridge fell silent. 800 people on this ship. 800 souls that Maria was responsible for. And now they were lost in a part of the galaxy no human had ever seen. "All right," Maria said, forcing her voice to stay calm. "We've been in tight spots before. Chen, start mapping local space. Communications. Send out a standard first contact package on all frequencies. Engineering, I want that FTL drive operational in 72 hours. "Yes, ma'am," the crew got to work. They were good people, Maria thought. Most of them were veterans of Earth's recent civil war. They knew how to keep their heads when everything went wrong. 3 hours later, Communications Officer Rodriguez sat up straight. "Captain, we're getting a response." "Already?" Maria felt her stomach tighten. "Put it through." The main screen flickered to life. What appeared on it made several crew members gasp. The being on the screen had 6 eyes arranged in 2 rows across a flat face. Its skin was a pale blue color, and it wore some kind of uniform covered in symbols. "This is Captain Maria Okonkwo of the human space cruiser Indomitable," Maria said slowly. "We come in peace. Our ship malfunctioned and we appear to be lost." The alien's mouth moved. A moment later, the translation software kicked in. The voice was flat and mechanical. "You have entered Galactic Council space without authorization. Power down your weapons systems and prepare for inspection. Resistance will be met with appropriate force." Maria felt her jaw tighten. She'd heard demands like that before. During the Civil War, the enemy always used the same tone right before they attacked. "We are not powering down anything until we know your intentions," Maria responded. "We are happy to talk, but we will not make ourselves defenseless in unknown space." The alien's 6 eyes seemed to narrow. "You do not understand. This is not a request. This is galactic law. All unauthorized vessels must submit to inspection. You have 10 minutes to comply." The screen went black. "Captain?" Rodriguez looked worried. "What do we do?" Maria stood up from her chair. Every instinct she had developed over 20 years of military service was screaming at her. The Civil War had taught her one vital lesson. Never give up your weapons when someone demands them. "That's how you die. Bring weapons online," she ordered. "Shields to maximum. Navigation, plot us an escape route. If they want to inspect us, they can ask nicely." "Captain, look." Chen pointed at her screen. 3 ships had appeared on their sensors. They were closing fast and they were big. Bigger than the Indomitable. "They're locking weapons on us," Rodriguez said, his voice rising. "Evasive maneuvers," Maria snapped. "But do not fire unless they fire first." The Indomitable banked hard to port. The 3 alien ships moved to surround them in a triangle formation. Then all 3 fired simultaneously. The shots went wide. They weren't even close to hitting the ship. "Warning shots," Maria's tactical officer said. "They're trying to make us stop." But Maria had seen this tactic before. During the war, enemies would fire warning shots to make you think they weren't serious. Then, the moment you powered down, they'd blow you apart. "They're moving closer," Chen reported. "They're going to box us in." "Target their weapons systems," Maria ordered. "Prepare to fire on my mark." "Captain, if we shoot first," "They shot first," Maria interrupted. "We're just responding. Fire." The Indomitable's railguns opened up. Humanity had learned to build weapons that hit hard and fast during the Civil War. No fancy energy beams or plasma cannons, just solid chunks of metal accelerated to incredible speeds. The results were devastating. The first alien ship's weapons array exploded in a shower of debris. The second ship tried to dodge, but the Indomitable's AI-guided targeting system adjusted instantly. More railgun rounds tore through its hull, venting atmosphere into space. The third ship returned fire, But its shots were slow, predictable. The Indomitable's pilot dodged them easily while their guns kept hammering away. 30 seconds after the engagement began, 2 alien ships were crippled and drifting. The third ship was torn in half, debris spinning away into the dark. The bridge was silent except for the quiet beeping of instruments. "Did we just—" Chen whispered. "Did we just kill them?" Maria felt cold. She looked at the wreckage on the screen. Those had been living beings. People, maybe. With families. With lives, but they had shot first. Hadn't they? "Captain, we're receiving multiple transmissions," Rodriguez said. "I'm picking up dozens of ships heading our way. Maybe hundreds." Maria's blood ran cold. "How long until they get here?" "At their current speed? 6 hours, 6 hours. Maria looked around her bridge at her crew. They were scared. Some were in shock. They just killed aliens. Real aliens. And now more were coming. "Get that FTL drive working," Maria said to her chief engineer. "I don't care if you have to rebuild it from spare parts and prayer. We need to jump out of here. It'll take at least 48 hours, Captain." Maria closed her eyes. They had 6 hours before an alien fleet arrived. They had no idea where they were. No backup, no support. Just 800 humans on one beat-up ship, and they just started a war. "All hands, this is the captain," Maria said into the ship-wide comm. "Battle stations. We have hostile forces inbound. I won't lie to you. We're in serious trouble, but we're human and humans don't quit. We've survived worse. We'll survive this." She hoped she sounded more confident than she felt. The crew scrambled to their positions. The Indomitable's guns were reloaded. Shields were reinforced. Every weapon system they had was brought online. Maria stared at the approaching fleet on her tactical display. Hundreds of dots all heading toward her ship, one human vessel against an entire civilization. "Come on then," she whispered. "Let's see what you've got." The war had begun. Neither side knew it yet, but everything was about to change. One human ship had appeared in galactic space, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. 10,000 species represented by their ambassadors gathered in the great chamber that floated in neutral space. The chamber had not been used for a war council in over 2,000 years. Ambassador Telmoth of the Velkrin stood before the assembly. His forearms gestured dramatically as he spoke. 3 ships destroyed, 147 crew members dead. This is unprecedented. This human vessel violated every law of civilized conduct. They attacked without warning. They targeted life support systems. They showed no mercy. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Dead. The humans had actually killed council ships. Not disabled them. Not captured them. Killed them. Perhaps it was a misunderstanding, suggested Ambassador Earl of the Pantheon Collective. Her species had always been the voice of peace. "They are new to our space. They may not understand our protocols." "They understood violence well enough," Telmoth snapped. "The Galactic Fleet will teach them to understand something else. Consequence." The vote was unanimous. A punitive fleet would be dispatched. 30 ships, more than enough to handle one primitive vessel. The humans would be given one chance to surrender. If they refused, they would be destroyed as an example to any other species that might consider such barbarism. Admiral Kethvar was given command of the fleet. He was old even for a Velkrin. He had fought in the last real war centuries ago, before the Council had perfected the rules that made war civilized, back when ships died and soldiers didn't come home. He didn't want this command. But duty was duty. The fleet found the Indomitable hiding in the shadow of a gas giant. The human ship looked ugly to Kethavar's eyes. Asymmetrical. Covered in weapons that jutted out at odd angles. It looked like something built in a hurry by people who expected to die using it. "This is Admiral Kethvar of the Galactic Council Fleet," he transmitted on all frequencies. "You are charged with unprovoked violence against Council vessels. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. You have 1 hour to comply. After that, we will use force. 1 hour." That was the standard time allowed. It gave both sides time to prepare, to position their ships according to the proper formations. War was supposed to be predictable, controlled. The humans didn't wait 1 hour, they didn't even wait 1 minute. The Indomitable erupted from behind the gas giant at full thrust. But it wasn't heading toward Kethavar's fleet. It was heading toward the moon orbiting the gas giant. "What are they doing?" his tactical officer asked. Kethavar watched in confusion as the human ship dove toward the moon, skimming so close to its surface that it disappeared from their sensors for a moment. Then it reappeared, moving 3 times faster than before. They used the gravity well to slingshot, Kethvar realized with shock. They're coming straight at us. Impossible. No one fights like that. They'll tear their own ship apart from the stress. But the humans had done it anyway, and now they were coming in at attack speed, all weapons firing. The fleet tried to respond, but they were still in approach formation. They hadn't moved into battle positions yet. The rules said you had to give the enemy time to prepare. The humans didn't care about rules. Railgun rounds tore through 3 ships before they could even raise their shields. Missiles streaked across space, not heading for weapon systems like they should, but for engine cores and life support. Return fire, Kethvar ordered. His fleet responded, but their shots were calculated to disable, not destroy. Every galactic weapon system had safety protocols built in. You didn't kill. You didn't have to. You just damaged enough to force surrender. The humans had no such protocols. Kethvar watched in horror as ship after ship fell silent, not disabled, but dead. The humans fought like animals. No, worse than animals. They fought like his own ancestors had fought before civilization tamed them. When the Indomitable ran low on ammunition, it did something else unthinkable. It rammed one of his cruisers, using its reinforced bow to tear open the other ship's hull before breaking away. All ships, fall back, Kethvar ordered. Reform at Rally Point Delta. Admiral, we outnumber them 30-1. I said fall back. The fleet retreated. Kethvar stared at his tactical display. Of his 30 ships, 9 were completely destroyed. 16 more were badly damaged. Only 5 ships, including his flagship, were still combat-ready. 1 human ship had done this. Get me a secure channel to the Council, Kethvar said quietly. They need to know what we're dealing with. But before he could send the message, something else happened. One of his damaged ships, the cruiser Steadfast, reported intruders. Intruders? We're in space. How? The humans, Admiral. During the ramming attack, they must have sent boarding parties across. Kethvar felt his blood run cold. Seal all compartments. Security teams to the breach sections. But it was too late. The humans moved through the Steadfast like they'd been born to ship combat. They used weapons the galactic soldiers had never seen. Firearms that fired solid projectiles. Explosives that could blow through bulkheads. They didn't try to capture. They didn't follow any protocol. They just fought. Within an hour, the Steadfast crew had surrendered. The humans took 12 prisoners, including the ship's captain and science officer. Then they disappeared back into space with their captives, returning to the Indomitable before Kethvar could mount a rescue. What do they want with prisoners? His first officer asked. Kethvar knew. He'd seen this before centuries ago in the last real war. Information. They're going to interrogate them. But they don't know what's against the law, Kethvar interrupted. And now they're going to learn everything about us. He was right. Over the next few weeks, the humans extracted everything they could from their prisoners. They learned about the Galactic Council, about the laws that governed space, about the thousands of species that lived under Council rule. They learned about the banned weapons and tactics, about the rules that made war safe and predictable, and they learned that the Galactic Council wasn't as united as it pretended to be, that dozens of species resented being forced to follow Council law, that there were cracks in the foundation of the greatest civilization the galaxy had ever known. Captain Maria Okonkwo studied every piece of information. She'd fought in Earth's Civil War. She knew how to fight when you were outnumbered and outgunned. You didn't fight fair. You fought smart. We can't win a straight fight, she told her senior officers. There are too many of them. But we don't have to win. We just have to survive long enough to warn Earth. The FTL drive is almost repaired, her chief engineer reported. Another week and we can jump. They won't give us a week, Maria said. We need to buy time, and I know how to do it. She looked at the star charts they'd taken from the captured galactic ship. Supply routes, depot locations, patrol patterns. They think we're criminals, Maria said. So let's give them what they expect. We're going to become pirates, her officers stared at her. We hit their supply lines. We steal what we need. We make them chase us instead of the other way around. And every time we jump away, we send a data packet back toward Earth. Eventually, one of those packets will make it home, and Earth will know they're not alone in the universe. They'll also know we're at war, Rodriguez pointed out. Maria smiled grimly. Then Earth better start building more ships. The Indomitable vanished into deep space, beginning a campaign of raids that would terrorize the Galactic Council for months. They hit supply depots, stole technology, and freed any species they found being held against their will. And with every raid, humanity learned more about their enemy, and more importantly about their enemy's weaknesses. The war had begun. But it was no longer about survival. It was about showing the galaxy that humans didn't follow anyone's rules but their own. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Ambassadors shouted over each other, their translation devices creating a cacophony of languages. Security officers stood ready, worried that the arguments might turn physical. 47 ships, Ambassador Telmoth roared. One primitive vessel has destroyed or captured 47 Council ships in 6 months. This is unacceptable. Perhaps if our tactics weren't so predictable, Ambassador Iril began. Our tactics have maintained peace for 5,000 years, and one human ship has proven they don't work. The Council coordinator raised all 6 of his tentacles for silence. Slowly, the chamber quieted. The situation is worse than mere ship losses, he said gravely. The humans have done something far more dangerous. They have given hope to the dissidents. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed star charts with dozens of systems marked in red. 3 species under protective quarantine have been freed by the humans. Not rescued, freed. The humans attacked our quarantine stations, disabled our guards, and gave these species their own ships. Ships we captured, which the humans reprogrammed and gifted away. Those species were quarantined for good reason, an ambassador protested. They were too violent to join civilized space. The humans don't seem to care about our definition of civilized, the coordinator replied. Worse, they have been broadcasting a message across 200 systems. The hologram changed. It showed Captain Maria Okonkwo standing on the bridge of her ship. Behind her, representatives of a dozen different species stood together. This is Captain Maria Okonkwo of Earth, the recording said. We came to your galaxy by accident. We offered peace. You declared war, so now we offer something else, freedom, to any species tired of council rules. To any people who want to govern themselves. To anyone who believes that might doesn't make right. Join us. The recording continued with coordinates. Coordinates that led to Earth. She's told everyone where her homeworld is, an ambassador said in disbelief. She's invited an attack. No, Kethvar said quietly from his position at the military command station. She's invited her enemies to come to a place where humans have had months to prepare. It's a trap. Then we send the fleet and spring it. With respect, Ambassador, Kethvar replied. That's exactly what she wants. The humans don't fight like we do. Every time we engage them on their terms, we lose. So what do you suggest? That we do nothing? I suggest we find out what they're building. Kethvar brought up his own display. It showed an asteroid field in unclaimed space far from any council world. 3 weeks ago, the Indomitable stopped running. Our long-range sensors detected them entering this asteroid field. They've been there ever since. What are they doing? I sent a reconnaissance fleet to find out. All 12 ships. None returned. But before they were destroyed, they sent back automated data. The hologram changed again. What it showed made the entire chamber fall silent. The asteroid field had been transformed. Hundreds of asteroids had been hollowed out and connected by tunnels and docking tubes. Weapons platforms dotted the field like deadly flowers, and docked throughout the complex were ships. Council ships. Captured vessels that had been torn apart and rebuilt with human technology. They've built a fortress, someone whispered. Worse, Kethvar said. They've built a shipyard. They're not just repairing captured vessels. They're building new ones. And they're not alone. The image zoomed in. Among the human workers, other species moved. The Kresh, freed from quarantine, worked alongside humans on weapon systems. The Torvin, another species the Council had deemed too primitive, helped construct hull plating. A dozen species that the Council had suppressed or controlled were now working together. This is treason, Telmoth declared. Those species are under Council protection. They don't want our protection, Iril said softly. I've been reviewing the humans' broadcasts. Do you know what they call us? Oppressors, tyrants. They say we don't protect primitive species. We imprison them. That's absurd. Is it? Iril looked around the chamber. The Kresh were quarantined because they were too aggressive. But aggressive to whom? To us, to our way of life. We decided they couldn't be trusted, so we locked them away. The same with a dozen other species. We call it protection, but what if they call it prison? This debate is irrelevant, the coordinator interrupted. The question before us is simple. What do we do about the human fortress? We destroy it, Telmoth said immediately. Send the full fleet. 500 ships. End this before it spreads, and if we fail? Earl asked. If we send our fleet and the humans destroy it like they destroyed every other force we've sent? Then we glass their homeworld from orbit, Telmoth replied coldly. We send 1,000 ships to Earth and we make an example. One that every species in the galaxy will remember. The coordinator looked at Kethvar. Admiral, your assessment? Kethvar was quiet for a long moment. He thought about the reconnaissance fleet. 12 good ships. 12 crews that weren't coming home. The humans had killed them without hesitation, but he also thought about how the humans fought. They didn't follow rules because they didn't know the rules existed. They fought with desperation because they thought they were fighting for survival. What happened when you tried to exterminate a species like that? I believe we can destroy the fortress, Kethvar said slowly. And I believe we can destroy Earth, but I don't believe we can destroy humanity. Explain. The humans have been sending messages home for 6 months. Their homeworld knows we exist. They know we declared war. Do you think Earth has been idle? By now they've built defenses, ships, weapons. Even if we win, the cost will be enormous. The Council has never backed down from barbarians, Telmoth declared. No, Kethvar agreed. But we've also never faced barbarians like this. The humans don't just fight. They think. They adapt. They've turned every loss into a learning opportunity. In 6 months, they've gone from knowing nothing about us to building fortresses using our own technology against us. He paused, then said something that shocked the chamber. They're winning. One ship cannot defeat the Council. It already has, Kethvar replied. Not militarily, ideologically. The humans have exposed something we've been hiding from ourselves for millennia. Our civilization is built on conformity. We force everyone to follow our rules, our laws, our way of life, and we've been so successful that we forgot there might be another way. There is no other way, the coordinator said. Without rules, there is only chaos. Perhaps, Kethvar said, but the humans have shown that our rules can be beaten. And now everyone knows it. The vote was close, but the militants won. A fleet of 500 ships would be dispatched to destroy the human fortress. And if that succeeded, they would move on to Earth. Kethvar left the council chamber feeling old. He'd lived through the last real war. He'd seen what happened when civilizations fought without rules. The death, the destruction, the species that went extinct. The council had created its laws to prevent that from ever happening again. And for 5,000 years it had worked. But now one human ship had lit a match, and Kethvar could see the flames spreading. He gathered his fleet and prepared for battle. 500 ships against one fortress. It should be easy. But Kethvar had learned not to underestimate humans. They had a saying, one his translators had picked up from intercepted transmissions. Desperate. People do desperate things. Kethvar didn't know what the humans would do when 500 ships arrived at their fortress, but he knew it wouldn't be what anyone expected. Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the asteroid fortress grow larger on his screens. 500 ships surrounded him. The largest fleet assembled in 1,000 years. It should have made him feel confident. Instead, he felt afraid. All ships report ready, Admiral, his first officer said. Good. Begin the approach. Standard siege formation. The fleet moved forward like a wall of metal and light. They had practiced this maneuver hundreds of times. Every ship knew its position. Every weapon was ready. The human fortress was silent. No communications. No movement. Just darkness among the asteroids. They know we're here. Kethvar muttered. Why aren't they responding? Perhaps they're evacuating, his tactical officer suggested. They know they can't win. Kethvar didn't believe that for a second. Humans didn't evacuate. They fought. Then the trap sprang. The asteroids weren't asteroids. Half of them were hollow shells filled with weapons. Railguns erupted from hidden bays. Missiles streaked out of concealed tubes. And the weapons didn't fire at random. They fired with coordination that could only come from a sophisticated AI. Evasive action, Kethvar ordered. But his fleet was in siege formation. Slow. Predictable. Built for overwhelming force against a static target. Not for this. The first wave of missiles hit before his ships could even raise full shields. 30 vessels took damage. 10 went dark completely. Return fire. All batteries. His fleet responded with overwhelming firepower. Energy beams lanced across space, turning asteroids into glowing slag. But for every weapon platform they destroyed, 2 more revealed themselves. Then the captured ships attacked. They had been hiding deeper in the asteroid field, powered down and invisible. Now they roared to life, their engines burning bright. But these weren't council ships anymore. The humans had stripped them down and rebuilt them. They were faster now, more aggressive, and their weapons ignored every safety protocol. One of the converted ships rammed straight into a council cruiser, detonating itself in a massive explosion that took the cruiser with it. "They're using suicide tactics," someone said in horror. But Kethvar understood. Those ships had skeleton crews, maybe just 1 or 2 people. The humans were trading their lives to take out ships with hundreds of crew members. It was efficient. It was ruthless. It was working. "Focus fire on the converted vessels," Kethvar ordered. "Ignore the asteroids." His fleet adjusted, pouring fire into the attacking ships. They started to fall, breaking apart under concentrated fire. But they'd already done their damage. Then something worse happened. The fortress itself began to move. The asteroids weren't just weapons platforms. They were connected by massive engines hidden throughout the field. The entire fortress was mobile, and it was moving to cut off the fleet's escape route. Kethvar felt his blood run cold. The humans weren't trying to win this battle. They were trying to trap his entire fleet. All ships full retreat, break formation and scatter. But as his ships tried to pull back, the fortress revealed its final trick. Clouds of debris that had seemed like battle damage suddenly came to life. Thousands of small drones, each one packed with explosives. They swarmed toward his ships like angry insects. Point defense systems tried to shoot them down, but there were too many. Dozens got through, attaching to hulls and detonating. They couldn't destroy ships, but they didn't have to. They damaged sensors, weapons, engines. They turned proud warships into wounded animals. "We're losing formation," his first officer shouted. "Half the fleet is reporting major damage." Kethvar made a decision. "All ships retreat Vector Omega. Maximum thrust. Leave the damaged vessels behind." "Admiral, we can't save them," Kethvar interrupted. "If we stay, we all die. Move now." 200 ships broke free of the fortress, fleeing at maximum speed. 200 more were left behind, crippled or destroyed. And then the humans did something that made Kethvar understand exactly how ruthless they were. The fortress exploded. Not just one asteroid. All of them. Every single connected piece of the fortress detonated in a chain reaction that lit up space like a newborn star. The explosion consumed everything within the asteroid field. The damaged council ships, the fortress itself, and Kethvar realized with cold certainty, any humans who had been left behind. They'd sacrificed themselves. Hundreds of people, maybe thousands, including the allied species. They'd known the fortress was doomed, so they turned it into one final weapon. The shockwave hit his retreating fleet, damaging dozens more ships. When the light faded, there was nothing left but expanding debris and radiation. Kethvar stared at the empty space where the fortress had been. Of his 500 ships, only 150 were still combat-ready. The rest were destroyed or too damaged to fight. One fortress, one desperate human gambit, and they'd killed or crippled 350 ships. "Admiral," his communications officer said quietly, "we're receiving a transmission. From the humans, and put it through." Captain Maria Okonkwo appeared on the screen. She looked tired, scared, but her voice was steady. "Admiral Kethvar, I know you can hear this. By now you've figured out that we evacuated most of our people before you arrived. We're heading home, to Earth, and I want you to know something." She leaned closer to the camera. "Every ship you send to Earth will die. Every soldier. Every crew member. We know how you fight now. We know your weaknesses, and we will never stop. Never surrender. You want to exterminate humanity? You're welcome to try, but we'll make you bleed for every inch." The transmission ended. Kethvar's first officer looked at him. "What do we do, Admiral?" Kethvar thought about the last real war, the one he'd fought in as a young officer. He remembered the species his people had fought against. They'd been brutal, savage. They'd refused to follow any rules. The Council had exterminated them. Every last one. It had taken 10 years and cost millions of lives, but they'd done it. And Kethvar had never forgiven himself for being part of it. He looked at his remaining fleet. Good ships, good crews. If he followed them to Earth, more would die. Maybe all of them. The humans would fight like cornered animals because that's what they were. But if he reported failure to the Council, they'd send more ships. 1,000 ships. 10,000 if necessary. They'd destroy Earth from orbit, kill every human and call it justice unless someone stopped them. Get me a secure channel to Earth, Kethavar said quietly. Admiral, I'm not following them. I'm going to talk to them. The Council ordered. The Council has been wrong before, Kethavar interrupted. He looked at his first officer. I'm old. I remember the last species we exterminated. Do you know what we told ourselves afterward? Never again. We'd never let ourselves become monsters again. That's why we created the rules, the protocols, the civilized way of war. He gestured at the debris field, but we forgot something. We forgot that the rules only work if both sides agree to follow them. The humans don't know our rules, and even if they did, why should they follow them? We declared war on them. We tried to kill them. From their perspective, we're the monsters. So what do you propose? I propose we try something the Council hasn't done in 5,000 years, Kethavar said. I propose we admit we were wrong. His first officer stared at him. The Council will never agree to that. Then the Council will have to court-martial me, Kethavar replied, because I'm not sending my people to die for a war that never should have started. He looked at the communication screen, waiting for the channel to Earth to open. Get me Captain Okonkwo, he said. It's time we talked. Really talked. Not as enemies, but as two people who've seen enough death. The signal went out across space, carrying a message that would change everything. Not a declaration of war, but an offer of peace. The Indomitable limped into Earth orbit 3 days ahead of Kethavar's fleet. Captain Maria Okonkwo stood on the bridge, looking down at the blue and green planet below. Home. She'd thought she'd never see it again. Captain, you need to see this, Rodriguez said, awe in his voice. Maria looked at the tactical display and felt her breath catch. Earth's orbit was filled with ships. Hundreds of them, thousands. Humanity had been busy, they weren't pretty ships. Most looked like the Indomitable, cobbled together from whatever materials Earth could produce. But they were armed, and they were ready. Open a channel to Earth Defense Command, Maria said. A face appeared on the screen. Admiral Chen, commander of Earth's newly formed Space Defense Force. She was young for an admiral, barely 40. But then, humanity had promoted people fast once they learned they weren't alone in the universe. Captain Okonkwo, welcome home. We received your data packets. All of them. How long do we have? Galactic Fleet will arrive in 72 hours. We're detecting 150 ships. Chen's expression was grim. We have 10,000 ships to meet them. But our intelligence suggests galactic ships are more advanced. They are, Maria confirmed. But they follow rules. We don't. That's our advantage. We've studied your battle reports. Every tactic you used we've incorporated into our doctrine. We're as ready as we can be. Maria felt a weight on her chest. 10,000 ships. Millions of people. All preparing to fight because she'd started a war. Admiral, there's something you should know. Kethavar, the Galactic Admiral, he sent me a message. He wants to talk. Chen's eyes narrowed. It could be a trap. It could be. But I don't think so. I've fought Kethavar 3 times now. He's not like the others. He's old enough to remember what real war looks like. And I don't think he wants this. What do you want to do? Maria thought about her crew. 800 people who'd followed her across the galaxy and back. About the allied species who'd died at the fortress. About Earth preparing for a war that might destroy everything. Set up a meeting. Neutral ground. A station in the outer system. No weapons, just talk. And if he attacks, then we destroy his fleet and prepare for the next one. Maria looked at Earth below. But if there's even a chance we can end this without more death, we have to try. The meeting was held on a mining station at the edge of Earth's solar system. Maria brought only her senior officers. Kethavar brought his command staff. Both sides were armed, but the weapons stayed holstered. Maria saw Kethavar for the first time in person. He was tall, even for his species, with 4 arms that moved with military precision. But his eyes were old, tired. She recognized that look. She saw it in her own mirror every morning. Captain Okonkwo, Kethavar said. The translator rendered his voice as deep and formal. Thank you for agreeing to meet, Admiral Kethavar. I'll be honest. I'm not sure why we're here. Your council declared war on us. They tried to kill us. Why should we trust anything you say? You shouldn't, Kethvar replied bluntly. Trust must be earned. But I believe we can end this war before it destroys both our peoples. Your people started it. Yes. The simple admission shocked Maria. We did. We applied our laws to a species that knew nothing about them. We treated you as criminals when you were victims. And when you defended yourselves, we declared war instead of admitting our mistake. He leaned forward. All four arms spread in what Maria's translator indicated was a gesture of honesty. The Galactic Council is fracturing, Captain. Your rebellion has inspired dozens of species to question Council authority. Some have already declared independence. Others are preparing for war. The Council I serve is dying, killed by its own arrogance. Good, Maria said flatly. From what I've seen, the Council deserves to die. Perhaps. But when it dies, it will take millions of innocent people with it. Galactic civilization is 5,000 years old. Trillions live under its protection, however flawed that protection is. If it collapses into civil war, the death toll will be unimaginable. So what do you want from us? I want you to help me rebuild it, Maria laughed. She couldn't help it. You want the species you declared war on to help you fix your broken government? Yes, because you've proven something the Council needed to learn. That our way isn't the only way. That there are species who can fight, who can think, who can thrive without following our rules. Kethvar pulled up a holographic display. It showed star charts divided into different colors. The Council is splitting into factions. The hardliners who want to maintain the old ways, the moderates who want reform, and the independents who want freedom from Council rule entirely. Right now, the hardliners are winning. They have more ships, more resources, more support from species who fear change. Let them fight it out. Why should humanity care? Because if the hardliners win, their first act will be to exterminate Earth. They'll send 10,000 ships, 100,000 if necessary. They'll turn your beautiful planet into glass just to prove that rebellion has consequences. Maria felt cold. She looked at her officers. They looked back with the same fear she felt. And if we help you, she asked, then we build something new. A galactic council that respects sovereignty, that allows species to defend themselves, that treats everyone as equals, not subjects. Kethafar's voice grew passionate. The humans have shown us that different doesn't mean wrong. Help us teach that lesson to the rest of the galaxy. In exchange for what? A seat at the table. When the new council forms, humanity will be a founding member. Your voice will be heard. Your rights will be protected. Maria turned to her officers. Opinions? Rodriguez spoke first. It could be a trap. He could be trying to get us to lower our defenses. It's definitely a trap, Chen added from the communication link. Just not the kind you think. If we agree to this, we're committing to a civil war. Galactic civilization tearing itself apart. Billions will die. But if we don't, Maria said quietly, Earth stands alone. And eventually they'll send enough ships to destroy us. She looked at Kethvar. I need to consult with my government. But personally, I have one question. Why should we believe you? You served the council your entire life. Why betray it now? Kethvar was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. Because I'm old enough to remember the last species we exterminated. I was there. I fired the weapons. I followed orders. And when it was over, when every last one of them was dead, I asked myself if it was worth it, if following the rules was more important than mercy. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. I told myself it was, that we had no choice. That civilization required difficult decisions. But I was wrong. And I've spent centuries trying to make up for that mistake. He looked directly at Maria. Don't make me live with another genocide on my conscience, Captain. Help me be better. Help my people be better. Maria saw the truth in his words. He was exactly what she'd suspected. A good soldier who'd followed bad orders and spent his life regretting it, just like half the veterans of Earth's civil war. I need to speak with Earth's government, Maria said. Give me 48 hours. Of course, the meeting ended. Maria returned to the Indomitable and sent a full report to Earth. The debate that followed was intense. Some wanted to refuse Kethavar's offer and fight. Others saw it as humanity's best chance for survival. The vote was close, but in the end, pragmatism won. Earth couldn't defeat the entire galaxy alone. But with allies, with species who wanted change, maybe they could build something better. Maria sent Kethvar their answer. Yes, the Galactic Civil War lasted 5 years. It was brutal. Thousands of ships destroyed. Billions displaced. Entire species forced to choose sides. But slowly, painfully, the reformists won. The old council fell. A new one rose in its place, built on principles humanity had helped write: sovereignty, self-determination, the right to defend yourself. Maria Okonkwo stood in the new council chamber as Earth was formally inducted as a founding member. Cathvar stood beside her, now retired from military service but serving as an advisor to the new government. "One ship," he said quietly. "That's all it took. One human vessel appeared in our space and changed everything." Maria smiled. "We're good at that. Humans, I mean. We're terrible at following rules. The galaxy is better for it." They stood together looking at the assembled ambassadors, representatives of 1,000 species, all equal now, all free to govern themselves, all united not by force but by choice. The Indomitable was preserved in Earth orbit as a monument. Tourists came from across the galaxy to see the ugly, asymmetrical ship that had started a war and ended an empire. But Maria knew the truth. The Indomitable hadn't started the war. Fear had, pride had. The arrogance of believing there was only one right way to live. Humanity had simply refused to accept that arrogance. And in doing so, they'd freed the galaxy, one vessel, 800 people, and the willingness to fight for what they believed was right. Sometimes that's all it takes to change the universe.